Hello nightmares, and welcome back to another video. For today's video, as you can see, I am barefaced. I have no makeup on. I just rolled out of bed, and the first thing I thought I would do today is film a get ready with me slash kind of makeup tutorial-esque video. I've never filmed one of these, so I'm probably going to make a lot of mistakes. Disclaimer. So, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to put our hair up and put a headband on so no foundation or moisturizer primer gets in our hairline. Okay, we've got our nice little snail headband, and the color of my dress is actually a choker, so I have this open so I can apply my foundation down my neck. And the first thing we're going to do, I like to do, let's see here, I gotta lean a little bit off camera here and grab this. The first primer I like to use isn't actually a primer, it's a moisturizer. This is the CeraVe Ultra Light Moisturizing Gel. So I use about 2 pumps of that, and I apply that under my eyes, my forehead, and kind of around this area. Just a little bit of everywhere, actually. Just not on my eyes. I tend to like, for myself, to avoid putting any moisturizer around my eyes because my eyes do that thing where like no shadow will stick in the corners of my eyes if they're too moisturized. And I'll give that about a minute to set. And while I let that set, my next step is I use eye drops. My eyes get really dry when I do my makeup because it takes a while to, sit there with liner and shadow and get everything to look right. So I'm doing a lot of eye open, staring into a mirror. The eye drops I've been using lately are from Rodo. They are the Digi Eye drops. So I'm going to put those in, and I will be right back. Okay, we have put in our eye drops. We've let our first moisturizer set. And so for my actual primer, it is technically a moisturizer, but it is from e.l.f. Skin, and it is the Holy Hydration. The Holy Hydration moisturizer, and I use about 2 pumps of that. I like the smell of this one a lot. A lot of moisturizers, I find their smells are really fragrant and kind of strong for my liking. Well, we're about to approach 5K subscribers, and I wasn't really expecting doing a forehead reveal first, but here we are. I'm kidding. Anyways, so I'm going to let this primer set, and then we're going to go to foundation. Now, this is a little secret that I use. A lot of people have the issue of runny nose or watery eyes when they're doing their makeup. I like to use this. Now, this is a generic one, but this is the non-medicated vapor inhaler from Equate, but they have Vicks ones as well. And you just kind of like, and it opens up your airways, and for me, it makes it to where my eyes don't water or my nose doesn't run when I do makeup, especially in the colder months. It is very minty. If you don't like mint, you won't like this, but it helps. Okay, now we're going to go on to foundation. So I'm going to tuck this back here and this back here, to the best of my ability. Like I said, I usually have all of the everything done before I make a video for you guys, so this is all new for me. This is my usual go-to foundation. I'm a tad bit low on it. I think this one is empty. But this is my actual shade. This is the fair one in foundation from grwm Beauty. I like that. It reminds me kind of the way the light's hitting. Like, you know how Morticia and like the Addams Family had like the light like right over her eyes. Like all the time. It reminded me of that. But yes, this is the grwm Sweetener foundation. But this is not the foundation I'm actually using today. The one I'm using today is this. This is the Revolution, Makeup Revolution London, the Conceal and Define Full Coverage Foundation. Now, I like the applicator of this because it's like a giant doe foot, and I just kind of do this number. I like to do my makeup, especially for unnatural looks, in kind of, I guess, warm lighting, as it helps me see where my shadows on my face are. So I'm going to take this damp beauty blender, and I'm just going to blend that out. And I like to do just a little at a time and build my coverage up, as I don't like to, I found that if you put too much on at a time, especially with like white foundations, it kind of sticks to the drier spots on your skin and it looks kind of cakey. But I like to look more, I guess, airbrushed. So I will do these little light layers. And it doesn't look like I put on a whole bunch, but in the end it ends up having a pretty significant payoff. Okay. So we got our first layer on. So I'm going to do a couple more layers of this, and I will move on to the next step and show you guys what I do. Okay, so we've done a few more layers of this. So the next thing we're going to do is our contour. So lately I've been using a couple things for contour, and I want to show you both of them. So this is a magnetic palette with some loose shadows in it. This one is one of my favorites. It's a red one from Odin's Eye, and this one I think I depotted from a palette forever ago, and I cannot begin to tell you what palette that was. This one is from, this is my contour shade. It was gifted to me from my good friend V. So was this magnetic palette here. This is my favorite thing. V has the same one, and they gifted me this shadow from Odin's Eye and this contour shade. V is my makeup muse. They are always gifting me fun things to try. But I do know that this shade, the contour pan, is from KVD Vegan Beauty, not to be confused with what it was before it was sold to Kendo, which is Kat Von D's beauty line when she owned the company. She no longer owns it. She has nothing to do with it. KVD Vegan Beauty is its own thing now. And I would say it's a pretty decent contour. So I use two brushes for my contour. They're ancient. I have a bad habit of never buying new things unless I absolutely have to. So I use this angled brush from Firma, the number 103 brush. And from BH Cosmetics, I use this kind of angled powder brush. And I use that to kind of like really pack it in on the high points of my cheekbones. And I use this to kind of... So, how I do my contour, crack this open. I just pick up a little product, and I'm going to look over here in my mirror, or actually, I can lean in and show you a little bit. And I just kind of pat and pack in. But I always start in this little triangle here, around the hairline, top of the ear, very, very top of my cheekbone, and then I pull down just a little bit underneath my cheekbone, and it gives that more hollowed, structured look. So I'm going to finish the rest of my contour here, and then I will show you how I do my contour here. Okay, so our contour there, it is done, and my lighting is not the best, so let me see what I can do to make that better. There we go. We have a little more light on the subject. I am the subject. Anyways, so the second shade I use for my contour, I use a bit of a darker shade up here, but I use a little bit of a lighter shade for my neck contour. I use this. This is from when it was Vampire Cosmetics. It is now Phoenix Rising Cosmetics. Same quality, same great products. Just a different name. This is when they did the Emily the Strange collaboration, and this is the Mystery palette. I never get rid of these. But inside there's a little fact sheet about who is Mystery. Mystery is the leader of the pack and is the prettiest kitten and the bad kitten club, but she's no softie, a classic kitty with old school style. Mystery is a star. And as you can see, pink isn't a color I use much because I don't really wear blush because I look like a corpse. Anyways, the color Sleek is what I use for my contour on my neck, and I use this brush just a little bit, and I start up here, and I just kind of buff in a circle like that, and up towards my jaw, but I don't really put anything under here. I just kind of move towards it and pull away like that. And repeat over here. And I angle down a little bit. And now we have a contoured face. Sometimes I'll take a little and I'll just kind of put it up here to make this look more hollowed out and skull-like. A big inspiration for a lot of my makeup looks is anatomy and bones. And I think that they are very beautiful in their own respect. Okay, our contour is done, and now we can move to eyebrows. So, what I like to use for my eyebrows, give me just a second and I will grab my tools in preparation. Okay, so I like to use from Girl Cult Cosmetics this palette here, and this is the Illusion eyeshadow palette, and the palette is Black Words. Now, this has been in my makeup bag and it is a smidge dirty, but I like to use this black shade right here. And Girl Cult Cosmetics is one of my favorite sea beauty brands. Their packaging is incredible, and their product color payoff, chef's kiss, always the best. So I like to use this little tool here. This brush is from Moda Beauty. This is the Brow slash Groomer brush, and it came in a set. I think I stole this from Dijon. No, he's never getting it back. That's besides the point. Anyways, and then I use this to fluff my brows at the very, very end. It's a bit of a wider spoolie. And I think this one is from BH Cosmetics. It came in a set. I'm obsessed with rose gold. I love the way it looks. Even my MacBook is rose gold. There was a point in time I had beef that I couldn't have all of my Apple products be the same color of rose gold, and I was disappointed that they didn't release a rose gold iPhone 15. So instead I just got the plain black, I can't remember what they call their black shade of product. I think it's like Midnight or something like that. But I got that one, the 15 Pro Max, in that shade. And I was so distraught that they didn't have a rose gold one. Third world silly problems, I know. So I'm going to grab this, and I take this angled brush here, and this is a powder. It is an eyeshadow, but this is what works best for me. I don't use brow gel. It's never really worked for me because I have very, I guess, fine brows. Like with the hair of my brows are fine. So I'm going to use the little mirror here so I could show you better. I start with my point towards my nose, and I take the very bottom of where the hair of my brow is, and I just kind of pull back, and I make a point. We've made a shape. You always want to start from the bottom of your brow and work your way up. And that is, of course, if you have brows. I know a lot of people shave theirs and just draw them on or pluck theirs. I did that once. It wasn't for me, because I had to hear every single day how I looked like an alien without eyebrows. So, it wasn't my best move. And then we're going to repeat over here. And this is often where it's hard, because brows are like sisters in a weird way. They're similar, but slightly different. But it's lining them up. So how we had our angled brush pointing towards our nose this way, we're going to flip it around and repeat that way. To the best of your ability. And remember, makeup is one of those things nobody's perfect at. It's lots of trial and error and learning what works for you. See, it's not perfect, but it will be in my eyes when I'm done with it. And we're just kind of, so I like to start from the tail of my brow. So I start from the front to the back, and then from the back to the front to fill the top, if that makes sense. So I'm going to just kind of, and you don't want to be heavy-handed with this. Just kind of like brush it over, if that makes sense. So yeah, we have a shape. Now we're going to repeat. And start from the back and the thinnest part of your brow and just kind of move towards the front. And of course, if you make any mistakes, you can just take your beauty blender and just kind of tap it out, because it's a powder product. It's easier to go over. And notice I've only picked up the smallest little tap of product. I don't like to use a whole bunch of product because you can always add more, but taking away is very hard. Especially when you're doing a gothic look. Black eyeshadow is not very forgiving. So, building up your look, especially when you start out, is a lot easier. So I'm going to finish filling in, and then I'm going to show you what I do with this end. Okay, so we have our product on, and it looks slightly wonky, so that's where the spoolie comes into play. I like to use this for the front part of my brow, and I like to leave the end part of mine very sharp. So I take this spoolie, I'll be leaning down so you can see me a bit better, and I just kind of blend. It gives that illusion of more hair, like fluffier, more natural looking, I suppose. And I do go a bit towards the tail end, like that. And then of course I'm going to go over here and do it. And I do like to kind of go back and forth, so kind of pull forward a bit, and then up, and then up, like that. And then I'll take my beauty blender again and just kind of around it. And this side of the beauty blender, I tap over the front part of my brows to soften them up. And there we go. We have eyebrows. And this unruly piece of fabric is going to go back where it belongs. Now this one is just extra. It blends differently because the spoolie is wider than this one. And I like things to look really blended and elongated and pretty. So that step is done. So now, eye contour. So today, I want to do a more red-based eyeshadow look. So we're going to start that out with, let me take a look here. Yes, this is from my good friend, Creature Cosmetics. This is the Lugosi palette from their Vampira and Bella Lugosi collaboration. Yes, Vampira and Bella Lugosi collaboration. So I'm going to take this slightly bigger blending brush here. And I'm going to dip into the Dracula shade, which is this nice gray shade here. And this is going to just do little bits of that. And it's going on the outer portion of my eye and just kind of like all over, but not exactly in the inner corner. You see how we've started to make that shape? And we're going to repeat over here. It's not super dramatic or noticeable, but in terms of blending out something as harsh as a red shadow, it really helps to have a good powder base. And I will do this all the way up to my eyebrow, just to have a good foundation. I apologize if you can hear the roosters. I do live out in the country, and our neighbors have a considerable amount of roosters. They are noisy little guys, that's for sure. Okay, there we go. So, I forgot to put this back in here. I told you I never get rid of these. They come in handy. I travel a considerable amount. They come in handy, say, if you had an eyeshadow crack in your luggage. It's like an extra little barrier against it getting on everything else. So, I do plan on using this palette today. This is the Blood Sucking Shadows Bela Lugosi and Vampire palette. And it has some stunning red shades. But we have one more brick to lay in our foundation. This is one of my favorite palettes ever. And I don't use it enough because it was very expensive. But it was a gift. And I think that's why I don't use it that much, because it was gifted to me. This is from Pat McGrath Labs, and it's just a little fingerprinted because of where I have it stored. I just kind of like put all my eyeshadow palettes in one place. This is the Mothership 6 palette. But to start out, I wanted to use this nice brick color here on my outer corner and underneath. So I'm going to use this very fitting red blending brush. This, I believe, is also a BH Cosmetics brush, and Pat McGrath Labs palettes are insatiably pigmented because Pat McGrath is a legend. See, just picking up one little of product there. Oh, the magnetic closure. So good. And I think I'm just going to use this under my eye, actually. Just a little bit. And as always, I like to keep that inner corner open as I do very dramatic liner. I think this is going to be a two-part video because I think I'm going to have this part be how I do my face and the second part be how I do my hair. Okay, we have that good foundation set under our eyes to prepare for some nice red blinding pigments we're about to use. Okay. So let's go ahead and get those grabbed and get our tools grabbed for that as well. Okay, so starting out, I'm going to use this nice red shade here. I like this palette because it has a lot of red coloring in it. There's light reds, dark reds, in-betweens, and I think that's really cool. I'm a big lover of red eyeshadow. And we're just going to pop that on our outer corner there. And I'm using this blending brush from BH Cosmetics. We're just going to pop that there and work our way up. Getting a little bit more as we go, as it's needed. See, look at that color. Isn't that something? Stunning. And then we're gonna repeat over here. Now, whenever I do eye looks, I like to, as I go along, mirror my steps. Instead of finishing all one eye and then moving to the next one, just that way it's as even as possible and I don't forget any of my steps as I have really bad ADHD. See, I think I want to bring this up a little bit more. There's nothing worse than having to itch your face when you're putting makeup on. It's awful. My face is never itchy until I start putting on makeup. I think that's a study that needs to be made, is why does that happen? And of course I'm blending this out to my eyebrow. Just using what's already there, not adding more, and just blending out to my eyebrow. So it's as even as possible before adding more pigment. Okay, it's a good start. Alright, and now I'm going to take this more fluffy angled brush from BH Cosmetics, and I'm going to take this darker blood red from the same palette here, and I'm going to go under my eye with it, connecting the two, just like that. I can see my mistake here. I didn't quite blend this out the way I needed to, all the way up. That's better. Alright. So we have our good little eyeshadow base here. And now there's two really good blood colors in this palette. The other one is a little bit lighter. So I'm going to use this same brush here and just take a tad bit of that. And we're going to deepen this socket here. See that? Just kind of hollow it out more. But with red, just kind of pack it in and blend it out. Okay, so I think that is a good eyeshadow base, and now we are going to move on to eyeliner. So eyeliner for me, and this is a controversial take, I have not the steadiest of hands, so what I like to do, let me look here, I like to get a nice angled brush, like this one, and I will take a black eyeshadow and I will make my shape and go over it with eyeliner. That way if I make any mistakes, it's a lot more forgiving than messing up with liquid eyeliner. So I like my liner pointy, angular, and I like those points to be more on the outside, in the inner corners, and I like things in the middle of my eye to be more soft. So what I do is I take this angled brush, and I've grabbed a little bit of this black eyeshadow from the same palette I was using, and I get right underneath my lash line, and I just kind of pack that in a little bit, and then pull out, just gently pull out from that outer corner, like that, and get a little bit more as needed, and just fill that in. And I will do the same thing on this side. Okay, so I have added out that extra line, and I like my eye looks to be super dramatic, because you have to. Life is short. So from here, about right here, I did it on this side already, but I'm going to show you what I do. I like to just kind of take that eyeshadow and get as close to my lash line as possible, and make a shape, fill it in, like that. See? And make sure I have everything as even as possible. Usually my eye looks take anywhere, or my makeup looks in general, take anywhere from about, on average, an hour, depending on if it's super intricate or not. It can be an hour to 2. But no look is impossible if you make the time for it. So, yes, we're just gonna fill this in. Now, inner corners are a little bit more difficult because you have to line it up with your nose in accordance. So what I like to do, I see right here where my tear duct stops, under my eyes where I will start making that point with my angled brush. And I just kind of make a line, and I'll do the same over here as my guide. Like that. And now it's not perfect, but I have a guide for my liner. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in with liner, and I will return to you. Okay, so we have filled in our liner. Now, it does need a little bit more shaping, as this side's a little bit more boxy than I would like, but we are going to put eyeshadow on top of it, and all will be fine. So for the liner I'm using right now, I'm using from Joanna Morisco. It's the Duality Deco Stamp Liner. And I think we're just going to go with the more dramatic side and make this side even. So let's do that. As I was going for something more dramatic anyway today. Now for that thicker bit over here, I'm going to take a Q-tip and just kind of, and then I'm going to go over it with foundation in that area where I'm wiping it away. And we will have very dramatic eyeliner. And after I do that, I will come back and show you how I'm going to connect the eyeshadow, and then we will do lips. Okay, so we're going to take this angled fluffy brush again, and we're going to go back in with that deeper blood red color and just kind of pat that in and darken this outer corner and move along the liner. Not exactly on it, just kind of above it. See? Like that. And pack that in. And now my favorite part is moving it up and connecting it. Like that. repeat the same thing on this side. Like so, like that. And pack a little bit more in here. And I think that's all we're going to do with this palette. And then we're going to go back to our Pat McGrath palette here and pick up some of that brick color for under our eyes, under our eyeliner at this point, like that. It gives that illusion of like a whiter eye, I suppose. Okay, now onto our lips. So for my lip liner, I use from Girl Cult Cosmetics this right here. This is the Polar Night Brown liner. Now, I don't think it really matters when you do black lipstick what color liner you use. I mainly like to only use it for my Cupid's bow, and then I just kind of fill in the rest with my black lipstick. So when I have two lip lines, I have an outer one and I have an inner one. I like to fill my outer one. So just kind of using that to redefine my Cupid's bow, as the white foundation has kind of obscured it. Okay, so get the foundation off my piercings here. This is what I usually use. This is from Girl Cult, and now I am not specifically certain which shade this is anymore because I bought it last year, but I'm almost out of it. It's a lip stain, and it feels like you're wearing nothing. You can eat, you can drink, it doesn't go anywhere. This is the only product I found that is actually that. But for today, we're using this. This is the NYX Lingerie XXL in the shade Naughty Noir. So, this is a liquid lipstick. My first thing to do to make these actually last, I'll do my bottom lip, wait for it to dry, do my top lip. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, black lipstick has been applied. So I'm going to take my collar of my dress and finally put that on, if it will agree with me. And that concludes my look for today, excluding my hair, which I think I might wait for next week to do a full tutorial of how I do my hair. I hope you have a good week, a good day, a good night, and as always, sweet dreams. And I'll see you in the next one.